Can you come back to kindness? Can you come back to grace? That, my love, is success.
Can you walk us through the journey and how you got back to yourself, how you got back to love, how you got back to, okay, I'm getting to a place that I'm good now.
You can get the visions. No, there's nothing wrong with having lovely things. I love beauty. I love nice things. But you can do it with somebody from a heart-centered, heart-led way of living your passion, your purpose. If you're so not emotionally in tune, you need to do a quiz. Myers-Briggs, love languages, Enneagram, whatever, 360 profiling, whatever coaching tool you need.
I do personally think, and I've experienced, you don't need to be healed, because no one is ever going to be healed, to find love. You as a love relationship coach, what's your take on it?
Your partner is, going to be your biggest mirror, and they're going to teach you so much, and that is also very sacred. Sacred, 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 sacred. So by honouring that and being grateful for that and treating that like it's sacred is so very important, because it will teach you everything, but you won't learn if you keep cutting yourself off. Like, people say, I don't want a relationship. Guess what, my love? You're having a relationship. I want something casual. Well, even if we're having something casual, that's a relationship. So good luck with that.
Hello guys, welcome to another episode of House of Impact Podcast. Before we go into the episode, I just have one thing to ask you, which is if you're enjoying the show, please hit the subscribe button so we can keep bringing you bigger, better guests, keep the show going. Let's roll with the episode. Marina, welcome to House of Impact Podcast. I'm so grateful that you're here with us today.
I'm so honoured and so grateful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You are, let me see if I got this right, a relationship coach for over 20 years, an author, speaker, and overall an amazing person I have the opportunity to have on the podcast. I want to start with, first of all, just to let the audience know, you have a book that's called Men Need Love Too. We're just going to put it in the screen somewhere. This book has helped a lot of people be able to actually find love. But I think I want to start with the story behind this book, because this book is really great, but you wrote it when you were at your worst rock bottom in life. Can you guide us a little bit through that journey? What got you here? How you heal from, all the things that you went through?
It's really interesting. I have always had a lot of love and compassion for the opposite sex and what they go through. And my dad, when I was young, he nearly died. He worked 7 days a week. He was an entrepreneur. And that was it. He, bless his heart, had such a big heart, but he didn't look after himself. He didn't self-care. And so I genuinely think you pick your parents, your soul comes in and they're like, I need to learn these lessons. And ultimately, I will always have so much love for men, but I have been in situations where I haven't been treated well by men. And I'd been going through my own divorce and decided to leave that marriage. And the outcome for that and the way I was treated wasn't nice. And I didn't want anyone else to be treated like that. I didn't want other women to be treated like that. And men were coming to me for relationship coaching and relationship advice. And I was seeing their wounds and how much they struggled and how much division there was between men and women. And from my own experience, being able to understand and transmute that to love, my pain, because I haven't had it easy. I haven't had experiences where men have always been kind to me and loving. I've had probably quite a lot of abuse from men. And so it was channeled through me, the book. It was almost like I didn't never intend to make a book. I was helping others with their book launches. So I was around a very famous coach. And when I first went into coaching many years ago, I was like, who are the top coaches? And I was very lucky to get mentored by one of the top coaches that charges over $250,000 a year. And I was around him quite a lot, and he'd done a book launch in the UK. And I was like, I'll help you. Like, thank you for being there for me. Of course I'll help. And it was a bit like the Wizard of Oz. And it was me and these other men. And it ended up being me and this other guy. And then these other two guys got involved, and they were all coaches. They weren't in their heart. And it was interesting to be part of this situation where I was a woman and there's all these other men, and how I was treated and how it was like the Wizard of Oz. I even referenced it. I was like, I feel like I'm in the Wizard of Oz. And I've got these three men, but they weren't kind and they were competitive to me and they were like trying to push me out. And I never even spoke on stage, even though I organised everything. They diminished my voice. And it was interesting to see how ego was played out. And I was like, these men need more love. And even though this coach was a top coach, you could tell that he was coming to me for a relationship advice and for that love and that nurture that was missing. And I could see what acts were being played out. And it was like at the end of the Wizard of Oz, the wizard's not the wizard. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And it was like this man's boys club. And I wasn't even allowed to actually have but I was like, this isn't my stage. This isn't my time. And to love this experience and to really home in, like what's needed was that these men need to drop into their hearts, to really love, to not be intimidated by somebody else or a woman, or to be able to come together and collaborate. Men and women are meant to work together. They're meant to shine together. It's not meant to be like, hey, you're a woman, you can't speak, or us men are going to take over and have this competition between men and women. So that was a really interesting thing to do, be around all these men that were authors at the time. So I was around one that was like, I channel God only. I don't read no books. I do nothing. I channel God. And I was around another one that was like, read the book, read the book, read the book, read the book. Get up, read the book, read the book. And I was like, hey, like when I do my book launch, which I haven't, I'm going to be like, my loves, this is my journey. I've shared to you questions and answers. I've kept it so simple on love and relationships. And at the same time, I've shared my experience. But if you want to sleep on the book, if you want to read the book, if you want to channel God, it's all welcome, because this is your life. This is your experience. I am just a messenger. That's it. Don't ever believe anyone's your guru or above you, because they're not, and your illusion will be shattered. And you'll see that people are all human. And once you idolize anyone, like they say in the Bible, that's the worst thing you can possibly do, because you're taking your power away. So in my work, I'm all about empowering the other, letting the other shine, let the other find their own path. Like my story and my adversity is a way, but your way is going to be a different way. So I was going through my own divorce, and even to this day, it's still not great. And what I get from this whole element of when you break up with someone and when you separate from them, or whatever relationships you have, the way somebody treats you does not define you. The way that you respond does. How much grace you have. How much empathy and kindness and compassion. Look, someone's going to say something, we're human. We might be like, and go into all different responses that we're conditioned with. But can you come back to love? Can you come back to kindness? Can you come back to grace? That, my love, is success. A different energy.
Can you walk us a little bit through that season in your life where you were going through divorce, where, like, I guess what I want to get is like going from getting everything you desired and wanted to one day waking up and be like, this is not what I want anymore. Can you walk us through the journey and how you got back to yourself, how you got back to love, how you got back to, okay, I'm getting to a place that I'm good now. How was that journey for you?
It was really interesting because I was very much going out, socializing like many do in their early 20s, looking for love outside of me. And the irony of being born on Valentine's Day and I wasn't content with where I was. And I found love, my version of love at that time. And I never forget being in that relationship and thinking to myself, because there was a lot of element of security within that relationship. But I remember thinking, I wish I just enjoyed being single. I wish that when I was single, I loved that. And I missed that opportunity to really love it. So it's always a good reminder to me, talking to me, that just enjoy where you're at. And the thing was, because I was searching, I think when you're searching outside of yourself for something, you're not always going to attract the right thing necessarily. And I was in a stage where I was looking for someone else. And I think when you're in that stage, you are vulnerable. You have to have, that discernment of knowing who is being genuine and who wants to be there for you or who wants to get something from you. And I didn't have that discernment in my early 20s. So I just thought, well, he was good. He was the best out of a not very good bunch, right? But at the time, I didn't have that element and that wisdom to see, is this coming from somebody's heart when they're there for me, or is this coming from what they can get? And I thought it was coming from their heart, and it may have been at that time. But only later on, I think, as you detach from someone, you see who their true character is. And that's why I say to men in my book, listen, if you go for a breakup, don't punish them. Separate, still love them, give them space, because you can come back together that way. You can't come back together with someone that wants to destroy you, because you're now not an extension of them. Now I'm not an extension of you. I want you dead. And that's how they treat you. There's no comeback for that. But sometimes we have to go through these lessons. And I think at that time I was vulnerable when I met that person that I shared a big period of my life with. But they brought me a lot of comfort and a lot of security. And I stayed because there was a lot of that. And I think it's just having that awareness that sometimes that we can be in something, but we betray ourselves. So for me, there was a lot of self-betrayal. So I didn't want to make him unhappy. I wanted him to be happy at the expense of my happiness. So I would do and that's how we're sold as women in society in many ways, like play the good wife. And you just do what you're subservient. And it's almost like playing a character, right? So I'm there, I'm at home, I'm the good wife, I'm cooking and cleaning, I'm at home. And I kind of went into this role where I wasn't using all my gifts and talents that I'm here to do. And I'm here to serve and create in this world. And I think my light was very dimmed and very diminished. And I think I remember going through like very tough periods of thinking, yeah, I've manifested this, but it was a push, it wasn't a pull. So it was like the dream home, the dream car, I had a vision board. Everything came true, everything. But it wasn't from the heart. I always wanted to serve humanity. I've always wanted to create. And that's a number one for me, pillar.
Do you think it could have possibly have come from ego of you proving yourself? I can have all these things. I can do it.
Did it come from ego? I think, when I was younger and we was looking at manifestation and all the rest of it, it was maybe looking for security in a way. Was it ego?
Or a way to prove your self-worth by.
Yeah, there is an element of, when you get the dream home, the dream car, the dream, like do you feel like you've made it? It's just that you feel there's more security, but security shouldn't come from without, it should come from within. And so I just think that we are sold that the manifestation comes from external or material things. And sometimes we can get caught up in somebody else's vision. Now, you can get the visions. No, there's nothing wrong with having lovely things. I love beauty. I love nice things. But you can do it with somebody from a heart-centered, heart-led way of living your passion, your purpose. Or you can do it from, I'm going to sell, I'm going to do this, I'm going to mess people over, which is like a very not nice way. And it depends on who you co-create with. And someone that's priority isn't God and serving humanity, you can't bring them into that if their priority is never that. It's always like, I need some. So I think the person I chose that was with wasn't aligned with me like that. And I felt it on a soul level because I was, back 10 years ago, I was trying to create an online course and he absolutely hated his job. And I was like, let's do this together, let's help others and let's do this. He never wanted to do that. He just wanted another house or the next thing. And so I was just like, okay, I'll make him happy. Whatever he wants. So we did it. And I'd done it. I'd done the real dream one. And we moved in and I was like, this is amazing. I'm so grateful. Because I come from nothing, right? So I'm grateful for everything. And he was just miserable. And I thought, I'm never going to make this man happy. Never.
But what about
I didn't care about me, really.
you?
I didn't
Who's
care.
going to make you happy?
I didn't really care about me because I suppose I was never taught that. So I was so selfless in a way that I betrayed myself to men in particularly. And of course, betrayal comes with that. There's only one way for that, solo viewer. And I was trying to get back to work. I was trying to do my things. But when I had my second child, spiritually, I opened up to like another dimension. And energetically, I started feeling more. Now, the area in your brain increases. The area of empathy increases. So I believe my connection to myself, my empathy, everything just increased, but so much in a way. Like energetically, I could feel more than I could ever feel. So when he used to say to me, like, I'm happy for you, I used to believe him. Because why would somebody lie? But then I felt, boom, he's not happy for me. And everything I felt the disconnect, and I felt that the jealousy towards me. And I never felt that before. I just believed everything he said. Because I was so in that oxytocin phase of, that's why I would say, have the discernment, keep your distance. If you're not strong enough, if you are anxiously attached, keep your distance a little bit. Don't sleep with someone straight away until you do become more secure. When you are more secure and when you're like, okay, if that person leaves, that's okay. I'm good. Then yes.
I love something that you said just before we start recording. I think you said something like, when you heal the wounded parts of yourself, ask yourself, would I choose that partner now? And that's a question that if people are in a relationship, in a committed, serious relationship, and they got into a relationship when they were wounded or when their self-worth was lower than now, and they ask themselves that question, would I pick this partner now? That's a question that can actually make or break your love life. Because what if the answer is no?
Well, this is it. I think you have to keep picking each other. And this is where I say in my book, it's so important. Like every day you're picking each other. Like the love languages and all the rest of it. My take on that is, if you're so not emotionally in tune, you need to do a quiz. Myers-Briggs, love languages, Enneagram, whatever, 360 profiling, whatever coaching tool you need. No. Get in touch with you and your emotions in your partner. Tune into them, stare in their eyes just for 2 minutes and go, I see you, my love. I see you. You're sad today. If you're sad today, how can I be a good partner for you today? What can I do? Okay, you want distance? I'll give you distance. You want a cuddle? I'll give you a cuddle. Simple, 2 minutes. She only wants 5 minutes of your time. Yeah, that's quality time. You give that to your person, especially a woman, watch your life change. Because my love language changed. It changed because we change, we grow. If you expect someone to be the same and you think you can do a quiz and put your partner in a box and everything's going to be okay, and this is a problem. That's what men do. And this is what I'm trying to change and cultivate. Like the top priority is the person that's by your side. Yet people put that as a bottom priority. And it's simple as tuning in and being seen and being heard and having that emotional awareness. Now, if a man can't be with his feelings, if a man can't cry, if he can't be angry without making that wrong in himself, well, he's never going to hold that space for you. And so where do you go from there? There's no depth. There's no deeper connection.
I think, obviously, I'm only 28 and I've only had a serious relationship, so it's not that I know a lot. But through my relationship, through the breakup, through the rebuilding phase, I've actually haven't opened up about me rebuilding the relationship that I once left. But I understood that everyone, doesn't matter if man, a woman, like, they need to feel seen, heard, and loved. And sometimes, or a lot of times, the way we love is not the way they feel seen and heard.
Yeah.
So for me, I was not feeling seen and heard because he was giving me love in the way he wanted to receive love, but not me. And he wasn't feeling seen and heard and loved in the way that he truly needed. So there was a lot of understanding, okay, what are your wounds? Like, if you're not feeling seen, where is that coming from? How can I make you feel seen and heard? And very, 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 very simple. Like, I feel like for women more than for men, we're like emotional beings. We're like more water, and I feel like men are more like the solid, more of a solid foundation. So it's like, okay, like, I think for me the game changer was, how am I feeling to, it's like, hey, heads up, today I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling a bit anxious, just so you know. And for me, being able to tell my partner how I feel, even though sometimes it's not that very accurate, it really helps him to be like, okay, she needs more of this today. So I'm just going to make sure that I give her that. Same goes for him. It's like, hey, how are you feeling today? Because I feel like, and I see this, that you mentioned this a lot of women say, where are the good men? The good men are truly everywhere, but where are the women that are there to provide a safe space fully?
Yeah.
Even when you're triggered, even when you like, because if we're not there to provide a safe space for them and telling them, hey babe, it is fine if you're not okay today. This is a safe space. Do whatever you need to do. If you need to cry, cry. Whatever you need to do. Because if we don't do that, we're never going to find men, or the good men.
All men are good men. And I think that's it. I think all men are good men and all men are trying their best. And it's very difficult for men. And this is the problem if we don't have empathy for it. And if women are being toxic by calling them names, shaming them, not turning around. And I suppose everyone's been guilty of that, right? But not turning around and going, okay, hang on a minute. He needs space. He needs time. He can't communicate right now. So maybe I haven't heard from him for a few days. Okay. How can I have empathy for that? How can I have love for that? How can I send him love? And how can I have understanding that he might be struggling with communicating his needs? He might be struggling with actually having these conversations. These things are hard for him. Like, how can I come from a place of love instead of judgment? And if we both in a relationship come from a place of love rather than lashing out and being not very kind, it's like asking ourselves, if this is my movie, what part am I playing and what character am I playing? And I'm co-creating it. So I'm co-creating this relationship. And if I am co-creating it, what responsibility can I take from this to move forward with love and compassion? And to know that it doesn't have to be this way.
What would you say? We talked about this before too, but I do really think it's really, really important to say in this podcast, in this episode, myself included, but I've seen this trend of, you need to heal and you need to be the person that is worthy of attracting healthy, long-lasting love. What do you think about, or how do you view the healing journey with true love, because both can coexist. You don't need to, I do personally think, and I've experienced, you don't need to be healed, because no one is ever going to be healed, to find love. You as a love relationship coach, what's your take on it?
So I'm really big on this, and I talk about this in my book, and I just say you can't learn love by sitting in a dark, cold room by yourself. And there is so much like, oh, you can't, until you love someone, you can't love somebody else. And that's so shaming, and it's so sad. You are lovable. That person, that timeline, everything exists at once. You living, you dying, right? So we're on this. It's all existing at once. The lovable you is there, but you're always there. You're always you. Every version of you is lovable, right? So when we're young, we learn things and the patterns come out in our relationships. So maybe we learn we're not lovable when we do this, we're not lovable when we do that. And yet we're trying to repeat them. So someone mirrors back to us, we are lovable. You are always lovable. You are lovable when you're poor. You are lovable when you're rich. You're lovable when you're happy, and you're lovable when you're sad. You're lovable in all of the human experience. How could you not be? You are love embodied, right? You are a child of God. However you want to say it, how could you never be lovable? And so relationships are mirrors. And when you are honor and thank God for every relationship and say, look, thank you, I'm here. Right now I'm with you. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Thank you, God, for this experience, for this moment. I'm honored. I'm grateful. Thank you. Because your friends are your soulmates. Your colleagues are your soulmates. People you meet are your soulmates. And your partner is, going to be your biggest mirror, and they're going to teach you so much. And that is also very sacred. Sacred, 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 sacred. So by honoring that and being grateful for that and treating that like it's sacred is so very important, because it would teach you everything, but you won't learn if you keep cutting yourself off. Like people say, I don't want a relationship. Guess what, my love? You're having a relationship. I want something casual. Well, even if we're having something casual, that's a relationship. So good luck with that.
I just think
because that's a relationship, even though you want a relationship. What type of relationship do you actually want? An open relationship? Well, it's a relationship. So just, everything is a relationship.
I honestly, truly, I do not think people, when they say I don't want a relationship, I want something casual, I do truly believe they want love. Like, who doesn't want to be loved? Like, love is, it says in the Bible, like, you can have hope and faith, but love always, always is the most powerful one. I do think people that just say that, and me in the past, I said that, it was because I truly thought that I could not attain the love I wanted, or the, so it's sometimes it comes from self-worth is, oh, I want this, I want something casual, because I know that if I get true love, I might not be yet worthy of it, because I have not developed in all the areas I need to develop too. And that for me, when I saw like, okay, like.
So that was about you. So at that stage of your life, when you were looking for, and when you turned to a guy and said to him, I want a casual relationship, it wasn't about him and him not being worthy. It was about you not feeling worthy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not feeling worthy of like attaining the level of like, I know in my heart and in my core what type of love I want, what I want, but I don't think I'm fully able to attain it.
Yeah, so it's all like you didn't feel enough, you didn't feel worthy, and because you were kind of, you had them beliefs, you were like, for now, I'll just have something casual because I'm not lovable. And that's sad, because you're always lovable and you're always worthy and you're always enough. But again, it's what you want to dance with and what you want to co-create with. So if you're on the receiving end of that, someone says, I want something casual. Well, relationships are never casual. So it's going, okay, what's my intention in this? How invested am I going to be in this? And what do I want to create for the highest good? And so it's an interesting one, because I think there's no right or wrong, but you move towards what makes you feel good. Does it make you feel good to be making a casual agreement with someone? Does it make your soul feel good? How does that make you feel? And asking yourself these questions and checking in with you is super important.
we talk a lot about worth and self-love. How did you learn to love yourself? Especially when you went through your divorce, when you said, scratch this, I'm going to start over. How was the journey to being in complete rock bottom to growing into, okay, I'm going to love myself now? Even in days that I don't feel good about myself, I'm going to love myself. How was that journey? How did you manage to get to this place?
I think ultimately it's loving all parts. So even in the grief, because there's a lot of grief you go through when you separate and when you've been divorced, you go through so much grief. And I had to go through grief of not only like not being around my children, but also him not being the person I thought he was. So grieving maybe a fantasy, an illusion, grieving a best friend not being there, just grieving like the loss. And there was no one to replace that loss. It was like I didn't feel that void. But in them moments, I was proud of myself for feeling. And in them moments, I loved myself for feeling and acknowledged that and was grateful for the time and the space to do that. And grateful. And I think if you can come back for gratitude and if you can keep being true to your heart and your soul and doing what's right and for the highest good, then you'll always cultivate more self-love. It's only when you're like betray yourself or you do something that's out of integrity that you lose that self-love. And the self-love journey has been an interesting one because I reprogram people's subconscious, but I've also worked on reprogramming mine. And that's very much before you go to bed. Like I create a recording for people. They can listen to my voice. And I've listened to others' voices that go into your subconscious when your brain's in theta before you sleep. And when you wake up, your brain's in theta for the first 10 minutes. And that shapes and shifts your reality. So always remembering that nothing changes unless it changes in the now. And so often we look to the future. Then I'm going to love myself when I have this, when I get this, when I get that. No, now you love yourself. Now you treat yourself like a precious gift.
Why do you think people struggle so much with loving themselves, especially when going through divorce, breakups?
Because we're fed society narratives, aren't we? And it can almost be fed even from childhood, right? So like, for example, if I use me, like I used to get told by my mum, like, you love yourself and it is a bad thing. And so then I'd go to school and then I was bullied at school because of the way I looked. And it was like, oh my gosh, I can't love myself. And so I would then be like, oh no, I don't love myself. And then people would come up to me like, oh, you don't love yourself. I like you. And I'm like, oh, okay. They like me because I don't love myself. So I'm like, I have to play this role now. And like, well, I become that because I wanted to be liked. And then slowly I betrayed myself, only to find people that said that to me would stab me in the back anyway, because they had issues and insecurities. And so then realizing that not loving yourself is the worst thing that you can do. And actually, yes, if you're in your highest form, in your highest vibration, if you are creating, if you are living in truth and alignment and authenticity, people won't like you. And you'll walk into a room and maybe one or two people will like you and you're like them. Great. Brilliant. And when you get to that stage, that's self-love. When you get to the stage of whoever stays, great. If they go, they go. Because I'm good with me. It's not dependent on what stays and what goes or what comes and what doesn't go. I'm good. That's self-love. And I think it's difficult in today's society because there's so much judgment. We've got social media. We've got things going on. If you post a picture, you're judged. If you do this, so at the end of the day, you do it. Now, your relationship with something is the most important thing. So if you post a picture and your relationship is just to put good into the world and to put love out there and you don't really mind what response you get back, well, then that's okay. Like, for example, I had women saying to me, oh, you put makeup on. Oh, we don't put makeup on. And I'm like, well, that's okay. Like, do you love putting your makeup on? And they're like, no, we hate it. We feel like we're doing it for someone else. Well, that's a performance then, isn't it? Well, for me, and I sat in a room with all these women wearing makeup, and I was wearing makeup, and I was like, listen, I love creativity. I love art. It's a meditation. It's a ritual. I go into flow state. I love it. When I'm 100, I'm going to be doing my makeup. But it's my thing that I just love it. It comes from love and appreciation. And love for me is not coming from needing your validation. So my relationship with it's healthy. But if you hate it, why would you do it? That's okay. So it's showing people actually it isn't what you're doing. It's your relationship with it. And that creates more love or self-love, or doesn't create more love or self-love. And then you realize, well, hey, lose the judgment. When you lose the judgment on yourself, then you lose the judgment on others. And you just keep tuning in. Is this creating more self-love or not self-love? And as long as you're checking in and going, actually, yeah, I think it is. Oh, okay. And we live moment to moment because we can't predict the next moment. Well, then we're living.
Yeah.
Then we're really living. Then we're in enjoyment. Then we're in flow. Difference.
I think what you said, like, learn to love all the parts of yourself is the key thing here. Because for me, it may sound very weird, but I only truly learned to love myself when I was at my darkest place ever, when I was anxious, when I was depressed. I remember, like just going through the breakup, and I had a very, very hard time coping and processing. And I really wanted to cope and process, but I had so many emotions, I had anger and sadness and love. And I felt grateful that I was able to experience this, because not a lot of people, like, people don't get into relationships sometimes because they don't want to be heard. But it truly is a gift to be loved, to give love, to receive love. And for me, I really, when I started, like, I remember this moment. I was in my bedroom, and I was, by this point, my partner and I, we were just completely broken up. We were just not talking, no nothing. And I started crying, and I tried to fight it so bad because the pain was so intense, and I never experienced that. And in my family, they don't say, like, oh no, it's not worth it to cry. Don't need to cry. Don't cry. So for me, it was very, very hard. And then when I started crying, I was like, whoa, this is great.
It's cathartic.
It's like you're letting your emotions out. You are feeling. How great that you can feel.
Oh my gosh.
And
beautiful.
Then I was like, okay, if I can love myself in this freaking mess that I feel right now, that for me is more powerful and long-lasting and impactful than loving myself when I'm launching a podcast, loving myself when I'm stage speaking, loving myself when I'm making money. It's very easy to love yourself then, but if you don't love yourself when you're at your lowest, your foundation will always be shaky. So for me, that was a catalyst in my journey. And I was like, whoa, okay, I'm crying. Okay, good. I was just like, oh, I wasn't crying more because I was crying and I was feeling. And I was like, okay, I can feel now. And
so beautiful.
I think that's very important.
I agree. I just to add, that's part of my method. So it's, love it all. So often people teach you, okay, to, that there's that voice in your head, the inner critic or whatever they say, and they push it away. But actually your mum, your dad, your inner critic, your partner, they all become part of your subconscious. They all become part of you. Now what people do is push it away. And they're like, I hate my mum, I hate my dad. And okay, but they're part of you, right? And then you have your shadow, your dark side, and all these different sides of you. And until you love every single part, until you love the anxiety, now I have helped many people heal from anxiety. And it's like loving the anxiety. Okay, what's the gift in anxiety? What's it teaching you? I would get anxiety in situations, but I never stopped to listen to what it had to tell me. Now, what it had to tell me was, Marina, this is not a good person for you to be around. I didn't listen. The anxiety was a gift. And so when you see your gifts, instead of going, and I would always say it's nervousness, but if somebody I was around made me anxious and I started dropping things, I know that I should have listened, because that's not someone I should be around. And so my nervous system was warning me, like, your body and whatever it's doing and however you're feeling is a gift. Your lowest moments are a gift. And when you love it all, when you really love it all, it's when you become whole.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find others also love you all. And then you've got friends that are almost all the same.
Because you respect yourself more.
You respect yourself more, and you're not trying to be someone else to make others happy and comfortable. You're just, okay, today, like women go through a cycle, right? So like once a month, once a month, like I'm going to feel down. And on them down days, oh my gosh, so much wisdom comes, so much clarity comes.
And what a gift to
what a gift
feel that.
To feel like a release, a detox. But actually, I'm going to be slow. I need to slow down. My brain's not going to be on point. I'm going to need to be maybe nurture. I'm going to need to be in more. I'm going to need to maybe write and journal more or create more. But yeah, we're not told that. We're told, okay, you just continue. Well, your hormones are changing. Everything's changing. But the gift in that is groundedness. It's coming back down to earth. It's channeling what we need to. And it's like harvesting that. And in the moments where, hey, might not want so much social interaction. And honouring that and seeing that as a gift. Beautiful.
Beautiful, indeed. Why do you think people say nowadays, like, dating and finding a life partner is really difficult? Why do you think in today's society it's so difficult or complex for people to get into a healthy, long-lasting relationship?
I think it's lots of distractions. And I think society pushes things onto people. So where we have this manifestation thing being launched onto people, it's kind of, as I said, manifest an experience, not an end goal. And so many people think that until they're a version of themselves, they're not lovable. And so people are going out and they're not really looking for love on a soul level, on a deep level, on a spiritual level, on a connection to a higher purpose level, on serving humanity, serving God, right? So if you haven't got a shared vision with someone, it's not going to last. It's just going to be, hey, I'm not feeling very good about myself. You give me some oxytocin and, it's a good chemical thing, and then it's going to be gone, right? So again, I think because we live in a society now where it's changed and there's a lot of, dating apps and social media, I think it is harder in many ways because people are distracted. And then they can't, if they don't want to feel, they don't have to feel. And there's another person there. So the gift in feeling and stopping and grieving is that we get to be with ourselves. Whereas, many people just run to the next person or the next thing not to feel.
We live in a society where we're constantly running in our minds, in life. It's like, okay, I'm not here, as in I'm here, but I'm not here in soul and heart and spirit and body. I'm just like there because there is where I need to go. But a lot of people, they don't realize that they want to get there without being here.
And as you say that, I have this whole thing of just like, put your hand on your heart if you feel like that. Take a deep breath in and out and just get back into your body because it can happen. And just be like, hey, I'm here. Where am I? I'm grateful. This moment is the most beautifulest moment. Thank you for this moment. Ground yourself back in because you'll never get this again. And when you die, trust me, all you see is moments. And to get yourself back to that and to that love and that gratitude and like, how can I impact this person? How can I share more love with this person?
What are some, going back to the dating topic, what are some things, you could say like 3 things that people can do to set themselves up for success, for a successful, healthy relationship? What would be the things that they need to do?
So they need to know who they are, number 1.
How?
So asking yourself these questions of like, when was the happiest time in your life? What is your perfect date? Almost like date yourself. So first of all, the first thing is going to be the relationship with you. Many people don't. They don't know who their values are. So for example, one of the happiest times in my life was going to Thailand on my own. I like adventure, I like freedom, right? So nature, I love nature. their true values? What if I don't know this about me? Well, then how am I going to then go, okay, there's going to be the right type of partner that complements. I'm just going to then give everything away to this partner because I don't know who I am. So you have to ask yourself these questions. You have to almost go into that self-discovery stage of what is fulfillment for me? What is my vision? What is my purpose? You know, what am I co-creating in this world? What would be like my perfect day? So you start that with you, right? So cultivate that first. Then knowing it's okay. Like, hey, Lena, you might want to have a partner and be out there, but you've got a plan and God's got a plan. And almost like, okay, so if I haven't got a partner, like what's my best life? And if I have got a partner, what is my best life with them? Knowing both and living both simultaneously. Because if you think your life's going to only get better when a partner comes along, you're going to be very upset and unhappy.
And disappointed.
Yeah, because it's not true. Because in a relationship, you're there, they're there, you know, and so it's really about you and taking that responsibility, because it's always going to be around that self-love and how you're co-creating your reality with somebody else and who can co-create that for the highest good. So you can set yourself up. Then having discernment, I'd say, is one of the key things. Discernment is knowing who to let into your reality and who not to let into your reality. Knowing that you are a gift from God. Knowing your time is precious. Knowing all these things, and then cultivating that protection around you. An army of angels, whatever you want to call it, guides, coaches, you know, people that can, you know, have got that maybe one step ahead of wisdom that can help you go, okay, let me just protect you here. Maybe you need to ask these questions. And, you know, knowing things like, are you avoidantly attached? Are you anxiously attached? Are you securely attached? And working on that as well. Because bringing that into awareness is super important for even when you're walking in, because even if you don't understand that whole concept around that, if you just know that when you're around someone, after you've been around them, how do I feel? Okay, when I'm away from them, how do I feel? Right? Really tuning into you. Because ultimately, if you're not around someone and you feel bad afterwards, or you're not feeling good, or you're around someone and afterwards think, you know, and your energy feels tired, and they're all signs. But you need to understand how to read those signs. So you need to understand the law of discernment and understand people very well, and then asking the right questions. Because ultimately, before you even get on a date, you should know what serves you, what doesn't serve you, and then how you see it, right? Because ultimately, bring fun and joy in. If too many people look at dating as like a job interview, an end goal, like, I've got to do it, I've got to get it right. Mm-hmm. And then they get their list and their tick list, and they're like, dun, 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 they're checking the list. And like, I've got to interview this person now. I mean, you know, I'm a high value man. So now some guys that I've coached are like, I'm a high value guy. So then they're interviewing, grilling these women. They're not living. That's not enjoyment.
They're not feeling.
Well, they're not feeling. They're disconnecting. And so then they're not actually stepping into someone's energy and feeling energy, because there's a fear of vulnerability there. So they put this protection up, like, I'm a high value man. So now I have to interview this woman, put her through this growing process. We're missing out on enjoying life. And actually seeing if there's energy to co-create and if there's lessons to learn. So there's an element of like, bring some fun into this. And know yourself. Know what you like when it comes to making love and what you don't like when it comes to making love. Know your yeses, know your no's, know your boundaries.
You talked about knowing your attachment style.
Yeah.
Do you think attachment styles can be, let's say someone's anxious or avoidant or fearful, avoidant or disorganized? Do you think attachment styles can be cured?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting one. I feel like I've come to secure, obviously with all the work that I've done on myself, but I was more anxious, right? But I would say I'm secure. Now, it's an interesting thing because everything's relationship and everything's co-created. So witness yourself. Who brings out something in me? Now, I could be talking to someone and they might not text me. But if I feel myself texting more, then it's an anxious thing that's come on, right? as long as I can witness that and give myself love and compassion for that and know it's okay, but knowing actually that a secure person would respond and that's what I need more, and being able to express them needs, it's all okay, right? So I think the moment you make anything wrong, I think whenever you understand a concept, you know who is good for you and who isn't good for you. Now, ultimately, when you're secure, you wouldn't let somebody in your reality that would trigger your anxiety again, that would trigger your avoidance again. They wouldn't be into your reality. But if they are in your reality, then there's learning in it. And so if you can both come to security and both see the gifts and both see, oh, that person's bringing out this in me, and how is this a gift, and what am I learning? How am I growing? How can I not project? How can I not, be not very nice and kind to the other person? Then you both can come to secureness. But only if the other person's willing to do that. So you bring out, you work with the person that wants to work with you and bring out your highest version of you and not trigger you, because that makes them feel good, because they're on that dopamine toxic cycle. And you can see that. But again, that's a level of maturity and work that you need someone that's also done that level of maturity and work.
How you mentioned you were anxiously attached. So am I, to be honest. Like, I'm just working on that area of my life. More secure now, I would say. But I'm just curious, like, how did you go through your divorce as an anxiously attached person? How did you heal? How did you go through that breakup? And how did you come back to yourself, come back to like who you are today?
It's been a long journey. It's been 5 years. So like the whole attachment thing, I didn't really understand that until I first left my ex-husband. And then I was like, oh, and I actually started dating someone that told me they were avoidantly attached, which sent me into like studying it, researching it, doing my own therapy around it, to then really, really understand, to be able to then teach others. And so there was an element of you have to understand a concept. And I kind of understood and loved the fact that my ex-husband did give me a lot of security. And there was a lot of security in that relationship, but then only to take that away. But then that was also a gift. So it was then having to, because I think the first 2 years after a breakup, you revert back to your attachment style you was previously. So even if your relationship, you earned security in it, you will revert back the first 2 years to your anxiously attached or your attachment style, avoidantly attached that you was when you were a child. So being consciously aware of the friendships and the people that you draw in at that time. And the people in what you'll see is at the time I did, friends even, were also like the similar to my ex-husband in many ways. And it's only now I can sit on a bird's eye view, when even just going away to America and coming back, I can see the similar relationships playing out. And I can see how I'm not in them no more. Friendships and romantic relationships. And how then you just see that you're not attracted to it. Like if someone doesn't text you back, you're not attracted to it. You're like, oh, I'm turned off now. Whereas before you might have maybe thought there was something wrong with you, or it maybe made you work harder for love. Maybe you would send them love, but like, this is not someone I'd choose to be with, because it's not.
Yeah, which I think comes down to, first of all, self-worth, knowing and learning how to love yourself even when you're not at your best. That's one. And I do think second of all is working on your identity. As in I always say this, but like you have to die. The version of you has to die in order for the new version of you to emerge, because we cannot put new clothes into a closet while we have the old clothes in there. And it's very like full of clothes.
I love it because I burnt down my life. Yeah. Like I literally got a match and set it on fire. That's literally what I've done. I've traveled the world. I've gone to different wellness retreats. I've learned different coaching methods. I've, worked with some of the best people in the whole entire world. I've been with the best healers. Like I burnt it down because it was like energetically, it needed to restart. It's almost like Lazarus is my surname, right? and it's rising from the dead again and rising from the ashes. But sometimes you do have to literally go, okay, I'm going to start again, because that's self-respect, it's self-love. It's easy, very much easy to do everything when everything's easy. But it's so much more harder when it's, you are rock bottom. And so there's an element of sometimes to do that, you earn that self-respect, that self-love, that self-admiration, because you're like, well, I did it. Because people are like, will always judge. They always say it's easy for you. No, it's not. And so if you create that element of, okay, well, I'll start again from nothing and rise again, well, then that's what that creates within you, like a strength that no one can mess with ever again.
People say like, oh, how am I going to get through this? Like you start over, because you truly have to, and you can start over. I want to finish this episode with, what would you say to people that are having to start over again? How can they be where they are? How can you meet them where they are right now, and like them having to start over their lives, maybe with kids, maybe going through divorce, maybe their career, like they're changing careers, they're just, what would you say to them? What's the first step?
Okay, so I'm starting all over. So if you want to come and join me on my YouTube or on my Instagram, I am 100% doing that, and I'm walking into that. And number one is reframing it and not as starting over. Like it's kind of like, again, we have these judgments of like at certain ages we have to do this or we have to be this. Success is being able to create from nothing and being able to keep creating. So like have that fun and bring that childlike curiosity back. What do you like doing? How can you play more? How can you enjoy life more? How could you not look at this like starting again, but how could you look at this as a time of like excitement, newness, fun, right? So shift that perspective and then move towards what you love and do that often and have love and compassion for yourself. Don't look back, because you can't change the past. And whatever's led you to here, you're exactly where you need to be. Everything's aligned. Everything's perfect. You are perfect. There is no wrong path. You are on the right path. The moment you start looking back and questioning stuff and like making stuff wrong, you're going to stop yourself. You're going to create more unhappiness and despair. No, like you have learned from everything. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's human. You find others that also have fallen and that also are rising and that also tell you, great, you know what? This is perfect. I love you. I love you with nothing. I love you for you. And I say this in my book, I love you when you're happy. I love you when you're sad. I've got love letters in there. And I think it's just important to keep that self-love cultivated. And then just to realize that you can create anything you want to create. It is possible. It is. And so have that vision of your mind can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. It's scientifically proven. So go to places and do things that light you up and bring that light. That's so important. And then just keep knowing that life is meant to be messy. It's meant to be imperfect. It's not scripted. We're fed these lies in society, by film, by TV, like, oh, this is how life's meant to be. And no, my love, it isn't. You make the best of what you have. You make it beautiful. You keep going and you just come from a place of love. But most importantly, you love you and you love where you're at and you enjoy where you're at, because you'll never get this time again. And if you're like me, oh, shivers in my legs. But if you're like 41 and you're starting all over again, you can do it. Because it's much better to do that than stay in somewhere where you're in an abusive relationship or you're undervalued or you're not living your life's purpose. Because you're here to create something. You've got a gift in you. You've got a talent in you. You go and use that gift and talent and you go and create, and don't make any of this wrong.
Ooh, goosebumps. What a way to finish the episode. Oh, yeah, I do think starting over sometimes is even more powerful than just maintaining what you've got. It's the bravery, it's the courage, it's the betting on yourself. And it also says in the Bible, child, be still, walk, like give me your hand and walk. You want to see the path, but you need to walk. I saw this quote on Instagram the other day. It said, "You are in a boat or in a ship. God steers the ship, but you need to keep going. He says the direction. He's gonna steer the ship, but you need to keep going."
Sometimes it's hard to keep going, and I'm getting shivers as we're talking about. Sometimes it's hard to keep going. I want to say to anyone that's finding it difficult to keep going, that it's okay. We all have times where we find it hard to keep going. Sometimes we might not know what's next and how to keep going, but other people will come into your reality, right? They will, and the other people will show you what's next. This is why people are your biggest gifts. Really love the people that come in, thank them, pray for them, because we don't sometimes know the direction, and we're not meant to sometimes know. And sometimes we can't get the vision and we're a little bit lost. That's okay. God will give you the right people and they will come in, and know that you're not alone. There's this whole thing out there and this narrative like you're alone, you're going to do this alone. No, that's lonely. It's together and with one another through relationship and through community that we thrive. Let's change that narrative. We need one another.
Amen. Marina, thank you so much for coming into the show. Very, very insightful episode, and probably we will have in the show again soon.
Oh, thank you so much. Such an honor to be here. Thank you for this beautiful time we've shared together. I've really loved it. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, it's your host here, Geni. If you made it this far, I hope that this episode has helped you heal, grow, expand in some way. It would mean the world if you can subscribe, like, and comment, because it's gonna help the podcast grow massively. Your support means the world to me and to my team, and we're just gonna bring you better content, bigger guests. So please just support the podcast if you can, and if you think this is gonna help someone, please share it with them. I'll see you next Thursday.